Trap bar deadlift is an exercise that I like to consider more of a combination of a squat and a deadlift, where with a deadlift we're generally in more of this hinging pattern, and a squat we hinge and then bend the knees. The deadlift, while we're picking the weight up off the floor, the trap bar deadlift, where we pick the weight up off the floor like a straight bar, the position that it puts you in because of the higher handles and where the weight is loaded forces it to be more of a squatting pattern. So all of that is a long and unnecessary explanation to intro this video where I will teach you how to do a trap bar deadlift. So our bar set up level like this. You'll see at the front has kind of two angles to it. That's generally the markers that I use for people whenever I'm telling them how to set up for it. So I'm going to tell them to stand inside the bar, and usually for most people that works to line the toes up with those two front angles of the bar. So once I'm in that position, I'm going to just perform my core bracing tactic here. So what I want to do is get a big, deep breath into my belly, and I want to squeeze down on my abs so that I can make sure this midsection here is strong and able to support this load. I'm tight through my middle. Now I'm going to perform my hinge and then bend the knees. So I squat down. I always tell people, pretend you're sitting in a chair, right? So you drop your butt back and then sit down in your chair. We're just sitting in the chair here. Two handles, one on either side. You're going to grab those handles directly in the middle so that your hand lines up with the peg that holds the weight on the bar, okay? So if you grab too far forward, what happens when you lift? The bar tips back. If you grab too far back, it tips forward. So to centralize your grip and make everything balanced, we're gripping directly in the middle. I'm pulling my butt down in the position. Obviously, I'm talking you guys through all this, and I'm not doing this part, but remembering that while this is all happening, we're keeping that tension in our midsection and keeping our upper back tight, which we're going to set up right here. When I pull my hips down, I lock in my upper back and my traps so that I'm not rounding over as I stand up. And then all I'm going to do is drive straight up away from the floor to a standing position. Now, it's the same thing with deadlifts and other hinging movements, where when we get to the top, we don't want to throw the hips through like this and lose our support through our middle. I like to cue people to just push the ground straight down away from you and stand straight up as tall as you can. What that does, that helps engage your glutes at the top. So I'm in my top position now, resetting that breath, bracing my core, hips back, bar goes straight down to the floor, pop right back up out of it. Now, one other thing that I want to point out before I end this video is the head position. With deadlifts and squats, I always tell people, I want your head to remain neutral to the rest of your body, right? So you see these people, particularly in high schools and younger kids, just learning to deadlift or squat, is that they're looking up all the time like this, which naturally is understandable because you're trying to pull the weight up, so why wouldn't you look where you're trying to go? However, what that does is puts an extreme force on the back of your neck and your cervical spine, we call that, which is attached all the way down to your tailbone behind your butt. So the strongest position for something to be in is a straight line or a neutral line in the case your spine has some curve to it. When we bring our head back like that, what we do is we introduce a big kink into that chain that suddenly we're straining these upper back and neck muscles to try to lift the weight. When keeping this neutral, strong position allows us to recruit those bigger muscles and make sure that we're keeping everything in a nice, healthy, happy position. But that is your trap bar deadlift tutorial.